Yeah, man. Yeah. It's been a little while.
It has been. We've been a little bit stored under the last couple of months, so it was like, you know what, let's get this done now.
Yeah, no worries, man.
It's crazy how quickly it's gone since.
I know, man. I know, it's crazy.
Flown past, man. I can't believe. We start shooting Black Site in just over 2 weeks. You know what I mean? It's just flying past.
I'm on strict instructions to plug Black Site every second sentence.
Who's told you that, Tom?
Tom earlier, aye.
Geek Speak, the definitive 365 cut. These are the meaningless ramblings of a Scottish redone whore and a pissy ex-video store clerk. Their ongoing mission is to set right the movie wrongs. They're gonna need a bigger podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the 365 Flicks podcast. And as you can tell from the title before you clicked into this episode, it is an indie talk. Yes, we have another indie talk for you fine people. And it's a good one. This is one that I personally have been working on trying to make happen for a while now. We met Craig Hinde at Sci-Fi Weekend. If you listened a few episodes back, it was the end of March, start of April. Go back to sort of that. I can't remember the numbers. Just go and do your own homework, please, people. So go back, have a look at those episodes, and we will talk about how we went to Sci-Fi Weekend down in Wales, which was an awesome 4-day weekend where we got to do all manner of geek crap, and it was just awesome. And one of the guys we met there was Craig Hinde, who is part of the crew who was there to do sort of a soft premiere of their new movie, Redwood, which isn't quite out yet. We do kind of get some little hints during the interview as to when we may be seeing that. Things are looking really rosy for that movie. We absolutely adored the movie, and we got the chance to sit down at the weekend with director Tom Payton and his main lead star Mike Beckingham. Both of them were absolutely awesome. Yeah, there's no Chris here right now. What happened to Chris? Don't worry, guys. He has not left me. He is still kicking about. However, this episode turned out to be a good 1 hour and 30-minute interview, which normally for an indie talk is unheard of for us. Normally we try and keep it around the old, 45, 50 minutes. But Craig is just such a blast to speak to. He just really... I couldn't drop anything. And even if you stay for after the credits, there is a little bit extra that as much as it didn't make any sense to the interview, I put it in after the credits. It's a nice just a little bit of talk about Spiderman Homecoming, a little bit of Marvel, and from what I can gather from the conversations we've been having since, well, it looks like Craig may be coming back on to do basically a normal, regular, schmegular episode, which is kind of a little bit unheard of for us, like to do an interview and then bring someone back just to do a regular episode. But dude is a massive Marvel fan, huge comic book fan, so it would be unjust if we did not have him back on. The whole thing about that was kind of a long-winded way to get to that, to get to the bones of that story. Because the episode is so damn long, the intro is not going to be that long, so basically I thought, you know what, I will just let Chris go out and have a few beers on this cosy Friday night, and I'll just do a quick cheeky intro for you myself, which means the pimpage is probably going to suck absolute balls. I have had 1 or 2 drinks already to kind of ease myself in. But yes, you can find the 365 Flicks Network podcast. See, I've already fucked it up. You can find the 365 Flicks podcast on your Facebooks and on your Twitters. Just type in 365 Flicks podcast. You will find us there. Please do give us a like, share us, hit us with a comment, tell us what you like about us, what you don't like about us. You can also find us on the hashtag #PoddenFamily, which is a whole bunch of podcasts on Twitter that are just all amazing. There's some really good ones on there. I mean, one I found this week, Welcome to Hello Mart, nice little serial drama. Well, not a serial drama, like an audio drama. I'm absolutely loving it. I'm hooked on the first 2 or 3 episodes. Give them a listen. That is a great podcast. Really enjoying that podcast. So yeah, we're on a whole bunch of networks. We're on Big Sexy Dev's network, Wicked Radio network, Big Sexy Dev. Hopefully we're going to be meeting him when we go to Cincinnati. Probably not, because he kind of keeps having issues with us, mostly my love of BVS. We are also on the Tangent Bound Network, another network which has hundreds of podcasts on there. Mark Bogner is the man over there. He's running that shit. And there's some really exciting things going on over there. Like, I'm quite interested to see where the Tangent Bound Network goes. And Chris and I are kind of working on a little something that, I don't know, may go hand in hand, but we won't be talking about that too much just now. So yeah, we're also on nerdly.co.uk, a British website, which is fantastic. They do all sorts of nice little cheeky geek reviews, a lot of independent stuff, quite a lot of British independent stuff, lots of horror. Phil clearly loves his horror over there. Nerdly's a fantastic website. If you haven't been on it, get on it. Like them, subscribe to them. We love Nerdly. Phil's always been kind to us, and we will continue to grow that friendship. Weeby Geeks. We love a bit of Weeby Geeks. There's some fantastic, again, more fantastic podcasts on there. So yeah, we're everywhere. We're like, as Chris likes to say, we are like shit in a field. You can also find us on the iTunes. That's where most people find us. If you have got us on there, click that little subscribe button. And then what happens there is this great little thing where you don't have to go looking for our episodes. If you just hit that subscribe button, every time I upload an episode, it comes straight into your feed. You get a nice little red circle with a 1, 2, or 3 or whatever, and we will be there ready for your ears. And if you can, leave us a little cheeky 5-star review. I'm told that it helps. Personally, I don't know if it does, but I'm told it does. So just do it. Even if you think we're shit, give us 5-star and tell us we're shit. And I'm okay with that. You know, we like a bit of animosity among the comments. We can also be found on any third-party app on your Android phones, the likes of your Satchels, your Stitchers, any app like that, TuneIn FM, Radio FM, all those things. You can find us anywhere. Get yourself on Google, type in 365 Flicks Podcast. We have a fantastic website, which I put a lot of reviews out on. I've slowed down a little bit as of late because we've got a lot of things going on. With Cincinnati coming up in the next 9 weeks, which is, I just can't wait to go there. That's going to be amazing. So I've kind of slowed down on reviews. I will try and keep that up. I do a lot of independent movie reviews, independent comic reviews, kind of do quite a few reviews for the likes of Image and stuff like that. And basically, if a comic book takes my fancy, I'll read it and give it a review. If it takes my fancy in a bad way, I just kind of push it to the side because, you know, I'm able to choose what I write about, which is fantastic. Yeah, so that's pretty much us in a nutshell. Type us into Google, you will find us. So yeah, this interview is a phenomenal interview. I've really enjoyed speaking to Craig. It's not often that when these things come up, when people like email us or when we're talking to people, it's usually the director or the writer or the leading star or the star third from the left. You know, it's usually those guys that come forward and are eager to speak to us. Not very often do we get what I like to call and what Chris laughs his ass off at, the guy behind the guy, sort of the assistant director, the first AD, your line producers, the money man, all that kind of thing. It's not very often we get a chance to speak to these guys. Craig was so up for speaking to us since we met him. I've been trying to make it happen for months, just things kept getting in the way. You know, indie talk's taken off a little bit. So it was just amazing to finally sit down and get into some conversation that I knew would lead down a path. Down a path is what I'll say. Yeah, we do try and poke the bear a few times and get some interesting tidbits out there for you, but he's like a ninja and he just slices you down with that shit. I cannot stress enough, if you're listening, I hope you are, I cannot stress enough how much we enjoyed speaking to you. And yeah, this is the interview. It's already in progress and you will hear Chris's Scottish dulcet tones in a moment. Interview already in progress.
Every trial is different, but in the end, one of you will emerge the new leader. And we might as well begin.
Who is coming? God. I'm Vincent. You must be Josh.
Yeah.
Your girlfriend was just telling me about your little camping trip.
Vincent's a ranger.
Yeah, look like a ranger.
I'm a special kind of ranger, Josh.
What kind of ranger?
Animal control.
Redwood ain't like camping in your backyard.
I thought you said this leveled out.
It does.
Goddamn vampires. What are you doing with these?
You see that?
Yeah. It's cool. It's daytime. You'll be fine.
You know this how?
Buffy.
Okay, so on Indie Talk tonight we are joined by Craig Hines. Craig, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, boys. How are you?
Awesome. We are good. Very good. Yes.
All the better for speaking to you, man. I've been trying to get this one sorted.
Yeah, someone's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, like, I mean, as you know, working as a producer and a first AD, you don't often get the opportunity to kind of do these sort of public interviews and things like that. So it's quite nice. I was quite flattered you boys asked, actually. It's quite nice to be able to, you know, make my voice heard and
Definitely,
tell some of my stories and things like that. So yeah, it's good.
I mean, the thing is, when we met you at Sci-Fi Weekender back in, was it March at Wales?
March, yeah, it was March,
and,
yeah.
After a few ciders and everything, I'd been speaking to you, and as we left, we were kind of going back to the caravan, and I was kind of, you know what, that's who we need to be speaking to.
You did say that. To be fair, I just met Nicholas Brandon, so I was kind of. Have I mentioned that before?
yeah.
Tom had just introduced me to Nicholas Brandon, so I was a bit spaced out at that point when.
Meeting Nicky's a bit of an experience, isn't it?
You know what? I wasn't that drunk. You know, I've had a few drinks, but I wasn't that drunk.
Although you can't remember a word you said.
I cannot remember a single fucking word I said to Nicholas Brandon.
I think you just kind of went over and went.
Yeah, I remember saying it's an honour to meet you, and then after that it's just me.
Just all a blur.
But yeah, man, some of the things we were talking about, and one thing that I'm gonna press you for a little bit later, which you'll probably not tell us anything about. But straight away I was like, you know what, I need to get this guy on. He's got some stories to tell, and you were wearing the snazziest pair of shorts I'd ever seen.
The Sci-Fi Weekender. Yeah, I do. I like. Do you know what, the boys talk to me about this quite a lot, because I don't like wearing trousers in the summer. I'm not. I prefer the weather when it's slightly too cold, so I'm very rarely cold. So on a lot of the shoots, even when we were doing Pandorica and Redwood, which is out in the woods in the middle of the night, I'm always wearing shorts. So I do have quite an extensive collection of shorts, and I own 2 pairs of jeans.
I did kind of look at you and think, we're in Wales, it's pissing down with rain outside, this guy's got it sussed.
Mate, well, that's it. As soon as April comes round, the jeans go away, all 2 pairs of them, and that's it. My shorts are out then until October.
Nice, man, nice. That's what I like.
And then it's just slightly longer shorts after that.
Shorts to the shins.
Yeah.
So, when I've talked about Craig on other episodes, or to anybody who we've been speaking to, I basically refer to you as the guy behind the guy, because, like you say, you're like a line producer, a first AD. When you go on IMDb, you've got a few different credentials to your name, which I'm sure is cool. But why not, to make our job a little bit easier, why don't you describe who you are, what you do, and why you're here to our listeners?
So, the credits, in feature films, so Pandorica, I was the line producer. The other credits, visual effects credits, title design. I think anybody working at that level of the independent film industry is going to end up wearing more than one hat. So you go into a project and, you know, I know it sounds quite arrogant, but I have got quite a broad skill set. So it's when you go into a project, as soon as people start picking up on that, then you end up doing a few things. But because me and Tom had worked together for a few years doing corporate video making and music videos and things like that, you know, when it's just for a long time, it was just a team of 3 or 4 of us, me, Tom, George, and some other freelancers that we worked with. So you're kind of doing everything. And then when we went into feature films, we kept that up. So, you know, we sort of came to this point in our careers where Tom was the first one to say it. Was like, you know, we can do some pretty incredible things here. We should start making films. We can do this. So you end up wearing all these different hats and doing all these different jobs. Line producing. So a line producer is the producer that is specifically in charge of the budget. So when you write a budget for a film, every item has a line in that budget, and there is a producer assigned to monitor all of those lines. You're the producer of the lines. You are the line producer. So when you start shooting, essentially you become a bit of an everything man, because you're the guy everybody comes to. I need this, I need that. I've got these receipts. Here's my expenses. And you're the guy that sits there and goes, yes, I'm paying that. No, I'm not paying these. Tends to be more no's than yeses. You just end up throwing receipts back at people and arguing with people and all of that stuff. So that's what a line producer does. First AD, contrary to popular belief, is not the director's assistant. First assistant director is essentially the project manager, the on-set project manager. So when you shoot a film, obviously there's 2 big halves to what you're doing. There's a big creative side to it, and there's a big technical side to it. There is a business side to it as well, but that tends to be what the producers deal with. When you get on set, the director really should be focusing on the creative side. You don't want to bog a director down with all of the technical issues. Mm-hmm. So your first assistant director then becomes that half of what the director needs to do. So the director then disappears into essentially fantasy land with the cast, and a big part of their job is convincing themselves in order to convince the audience that this is real. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to keep approaching a director and keep approaching cast members, you know, being lighting department or makeup or special effects or costume, because you keep breaking that bit of concentration, that bit of focus. So you have a first assistant director. So I'm basically the bridge between the crew and the director. And it's just general man management, in charge of the schedule. I'll write the schedule. So once the script's done, I'll put the schedule together, work out what we're shooting on what days, and then it's my job to make sure that we're sticking to that schedule. So quite often it is dealing with the director and letting the director know that he's got X amount of time to do something, and then we need to move on, or working out if the director and the cast are taking a bit longer to shoot certain scenes and you're going off schedule a little bit, and it's then my job to work out how we're going to get that time back without going massively over budget and things like that. So yeah, but on-set project manager I think is the best way to describe it.
Wow, sounds like a pretty stressful job.
Do you know what it is? I don't mind the job I'm supposed to be doing, but because you're that sort of, as a producer and a first AD, essentially you become like a center for everybody's problems. Like everyone, like you're dealing with so many different people that you know people will come to you with problems that are actually about the film. But then very slowly, as you start to get very familiar with the people you're working with, which happens on any film set, because you're in this pressure cooker and you're all working together for, 13, 14, 15 hours a day. Often you're all staying and living in the same hotel for a month with each other. If this very quickly grows into people will just come and tell you about their problems. Oh, I was talking to so-and-so the other day, but I don't think he fancies me. And like why are you in my office? Can you please leave? I'm not interested. So yeah, I don't mind. That's the stressful part, is when people start getting a bit, you're an agony aunt for them, basically, like a parent figure, which is not what it's supposed to be.
I can't imagine you doing that, Kev.
I think I'm definitely that guy.
You
like people coming up to me with their problems and just being like, "Fuck off."
Yeah, yeah.
You know fine well I would be.
So
the biggest responsibility is finding the balance. Is filtering what the director does and doesn't need to know about. 90% of the things that come up you'll deal with yourself, and then it's working out what the director, like I say, what you need to tell the director, or things are changing and things like that. So that's the biggest part, is finding the balance.
So how do you decide then how, when you're planning it all out and all that with, I'm sure many different whiteboards, how do you sort of come up with a right, it's going to be done in 10 days or 20 days or 25 days. How do you come up with that?
It's complete guesswork, man.
Right.
No, I'm joking. When you go through the script and you just, obviously, this is a, you've got to draw on your experience and what you know, which is why it's always easier when you're working with a crew of people that you know, because you know how fast you can get things done and what your goals are. So you go through the scripts, you break down every scene, and then you start to work out, I think this is going to take us about 2 hours, I think it's going to take about an hour and a half. And then there's also an element of, here's the actors availability, here's the location availability, and you've got to try and put all of these things together. Say, well, we've only got this actor for this number of days, so all of the scenes this actor's in have to be done on these days, and then does that coincide with other actors availability? So it's like it starts off as like a big puzzle that you don't have the picture for, and you just start putting pieces together and then rearranging them. Slowly the picture starts to appear, and then it becomes easier to slot all the pieces together. But yeah, it's not easy. I think it's just experience, man. Like, it's just working out. Like I say, working with people that you know is always a plus.
I've changed my mind. I'm not that guy.
No.
Do you know what? It's a lot. It's also a lot of shouting as well, man. Like, you're the guy. I don't necessarily like being this guy, but you are the guy that's responsible for like giving the bollockings, and when you've got people on set that have got their phones on and things like that, you're the guy. You're the one that's pointing fingers and shouting and all of that stuff. So yeah, while the director, even though the director's kind of the guy in charge, gets to be the one that's sort of, everybody's friend and everybody's mate, because, the first AD is the one that's actually doing the managing. So
that was a comment you made when we spoke that night.
I remember you telling me that on the way back to the caravan.
That made me think straight away, we need to speak to Craig.
Yeah.
Because you were kind of like, I'm the guy who basically tells people to shut up. And then Tom comes over to them and gives them a handshake and a smile. And, and I was like, because I know you're saying that you don't like that, but there must be a little part of you that does like being that guy that is sort of like, turn your phone off.
Do you know what? I think the first time you have to tell someone, there is a little buzz. There is a little buzz of being the authoritarian and like, I'm in charge. But when somebody consistently does it, then it just becomes annoying. Then it becomes annoying. Then it's not enjoyable then, because then you are really shouting at people and sort of really telling people off. And nobody likes to be that guy. I like being in charge. I don't necessarily like having to keep telling people the same things over and over again, which often happens. You'd be surprised.
It was Mike, right? It was Mike.
What, the Mike Beckingham?
Yeah.
I can't remember shouting at Mike so much. I think Mike. The problem with Mike is that Mike is he's a little bit accident prone. So Mike, so especially in the woods and things like that, it was always just making sure that he's not going to hurt himself, and just giving that a little bit of extra attention to like making sure that he's okay. He's a little bit accident prone.
You do all your job and you run a daycare as well.
Pretty much.
So yeah, like we've alluded to a few times, we met you at Sci-Fi Weekend, which was for the sort of soft premiere of Redwood. Because as I believe it, Tom goes way back with SFW, so it was like a nice little sort of, here's the next. And you did it with Pandorica as well, didn't you?
We did, yeah.
Yeah, so it was did. Coming back, and you got a fucking great reception.
Oh yeah.
It was like I believe it was like 1,500 strong there.
There was.
That's insane, man.
Well, I remember standing in the queue to get in,
and
the queue went right way back, and that must have been an amazing feeling.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was getting at. With us being there, we were there sort of as press kind of thing to view the movie, which was a big part of the reason we went, was because Redwood was going to be there, and we'd already kind of spoke to Tom. But with you being part of the filmmaking group and the people that made this movie, what was it like for yourself?
Do you know what? It's a slightly surreal, abstract experience. I think there's just I don't think I'm ever going to get tired of that. I don't think I'm ever going to get tired of being involved in a project and then having that reception. Like when we saw the queue, I remember actually, because we went obviously early that morning because we had the screening. we were just testing the film and running it up on the projector and stuff like that. And then there was a little issue with the frame rates. Actually, there was a 20-minute bit in the morning there where it was like a bit of panic. It's like just the film's like got a stutter to it. And then we fixed that. It was the video guys there had the projector set at a frame rate that wasn't divisible by. I'm getting really boring now with this post production stuff. Wasn't divisible by the frame rate that the film we'd given him in, so it had a little stutter. But we fixed that. And then I remember speaking to Mike actually, and I said, because Mike was probably the most nervous out of all of us, and I think having done Pandorica the year before, there was still an element of nerves there. But for Mike, this is the first time he's ever been in a film like that and then done something like this. So he was really, really nervous. He was like, what if nobody turns up? What if nobody likes it? And I'm like, mate, do you know what? It's a really good film, man. Like, we're all really proud of it, and you just got to focus on that. And then after we sorted the problems with the projector, I wandered up to the top and saw the queue. And I went back in. I said, "Come on!" I waved Mike over. I was like, "Come and look at this." And we saw you all. Like, we were stood at the doors at the back, where that Burger King is. Yeah. And I was like, "Mike, look, honestly, mate, look at the queue. It is huge, man." And it just went off. Like, we couldn't see where it was going to. It was gone. And it was just like, oh, it's an amazing feeling, and you start to get a bit emotional, and you think, wow, this is incredible. And I know Tom does as well. And Tom's looking at stuff like that, and he's sort of walking around like, have you seen the queue? Have you seen the queue out there? The queue, honestly, mate, like the queue is gone. It's gone. There's loads of people out there. There's loads of people coming to see it. And I was like, mate, it's incredible, and there's always a buzz. And I love the sci-fi weekender, and we did Pandorica there the year before. That was a bit more nerve-wracking because Pandorica was like our first film, Tom's first film. We had absolutely no idea how it was going to go down, whether we were any good at this. And Tom, I remember Tom was really, because he had to do the Q&A afterwards, and he was really, really nervous and things like that. And then everybody loved it, and we sort of got this really grand reception, and the same thing for Redwood, and nobody left. That's it. Like, that's how we judge it. I don't mind if people are quiet and there's not so much clap. There was a lot of clapping, but I don't mind if there's not so much clapping. But as long as most people stay till the end of the film, everybody stayed for Pandorica, everybody stayed for Redwood, and so we were like, do you know what, we've done it, man. It's another good film. Best thing about the Sci-Fi Weekender is that it's not a mainstream crowd that go. So the crowd that you get the Sci-Fi Weekender, do you know what I mean? Like me, I'm a big fanboy. Yeah, I go to these. I like going to these events. I like the Comic Cons and stuff like that, and I like going as a fan. And I think they're a bit like me. At the mainstream events, if people haven't heard of what you're doing, or they haven't seen anything on social media, or they've just got no idea, they just won't turn up. Yeah. Whereas the guys you get at the Sci-Fi Weekender, they will, if it's on the agenda, they will come and try it. They will come and watch, and they will give you the feedback. And they're always really honest and constructive. And they'll say, "I love this. I love that. I would have liked to have seen this. I would have liked to have seen that." And that was great on Pandorica, because we were like, all right, cool. So to be fair, most of the constructive feedback we had on Pandorica would have been great if we could have seen more. And we were like, I know, but we only had a little budget, and we wanted to do more and we couldn't. It was the same on Redwood, which is really great. But they always give you this good, honest, constructive feedback. That's why I love the Sci-Fi Weekender. And we love the guys at Area 51. They're friends of ours. Tom goes way back with those guys. Area 51 worked on Pandorica with us. They're working on Black Site with us, nice. So like Matt and Spike and all those guys. So, Sci-Fi Weekender. I just love the festival atmosphere, boys. Man. It's good. It's just a party atmosphere in the evenings. It's just, it's an amazing event.
That's what we said as well, because we've been to other cons, but we've said a few times that the main thing that we loved about going to Sci-Fi Weekender was the atmosphere and as you said, Craig, the party atmosphere at night. And
it's a 4-day rave.
It was great.
It was great. 4-day geek rave. It was.
There is a lot of drinking that goes on at the Sci-Fi Weekend.
I must admit.
Yeah, we spotted that.
Yeah, there is a lot of drinking that goes on at Sci-Fi Weekender, but it's just fantastic, and you get to be around everyone. You get to be around the fans, and and I say you always get this big group, and we found that slightly surreal experience is a big group of people that really like what we're doing. Which is great, because you just get to talk to people, and it's really addictive. I'm not going to lie, that feeling of, especially Pandorica, the first year when we did Pandorica, I remember right at the end and getting this mad rush of people, because we bought some merchandise with us, hoodies and t-shirts, and we had the comic books and the posters, and we had a few cast members, and there were signings and stuff, and we didn't know how it was going to go down. And when there was that horde of people that came over at the end of the film, and it was just this massive rush, and people want to sort of crowding around and almost queuing up to speak to you. That's quite an addictive feeling. That's a massive ego boost, and I don't think I'll ever get bored of that. Do you know what I mean? I think it's important to find a balance, because with, you know, I think lots and lots of people fall foul of these overinflated egos, and when that happens, the ego just, you know, you lose concentration, you get lazy, you lose focus, and you just assume that everything you do is going to be good. But at the same time, I don't think I'll ever get bored of having people like just praising you and like, oh man, it's, you know what I mean? Like, what you guys have done on this is amazing, and they just want to speak to you and ask you questions and stuff. And I think I'll always have time for that, man. It's awesome.
That was one of the things that struck me, like, you know, you're saying about egos and everything like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, we'd spoken to Tom on Skype before, and I'd spoken to him quite a bit on Facebook chat and everything, but I don't know quite what I was expecting, like, face to face. And when we got the chance to sit down with him and Mike, the two of them, just like, they were so down to earth.
That's it.
Humble.
We were walking towards the bar to get to get a pint for when we did the interview, and I was walking along speaking to Mike about our dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a fantastic thing, and that's what I mean. Like with the sci-fi weekend, you get the chance to be like that with people, and it was great meeting them. They were fantastic, the two of them.
Tom, I think Tom. I mean, we're already down to earth, and I know, you know, Mike is as well. Mike sort of has this, you know, obviously being Simon's brother, has this. I think he's seen that part of the industry, and the way he deals with it is incredible, because he, like I say, even then when he was coming in for Redwood, and he was like, oh God, and he was really, really nervous. And I'm like, man, like we're the ones, like we're the ones that haven't really experienced that mega part of the industry yet. Like you have. Like, I don't understand like why you're nervous. Like we're nervous, mate, because we don't know how any of this is going to go down. We've got no experience with this, and we're just starting to learn over the last couple of years, like, you know, what this looks like and feels like. But yeah, really down to earth. Tom he just doesn't take life too seriously. Like, you know, everything's a wind up, any opportunity to wind people up, and you know, banter and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, if you know, if you try and engage in banter with him, he will never stop. Like, he will just keep going and going and going and going until you give up and you're like, you know, I'm going. But that's Tom. Like, you know, he's fantastically down to earth, and I think that's a big part of, you know, what makes him the successful director that he is that he's a massive people person, and I've not met anybody that doesn't like him. He gets on with everybody. He's always laughing, always smiling, always joking, and he gets on with everyone. So as a director, people they listen to what he's saying, and they respect him, and you know, we always keep the morale high on our sets and things like that. And when people are enjoying themselves, you know, you get that in the films. That energy comes across, and I think that's what a part of subconsciously people buy into that. Mm-hmm. They can see, you know, it's like anything. If you're the front man of a band, you know, you could have the worst songs in the world, but if you've got a lot of energy on stage, that's half the battle right there. Do you know what I mean? Definitely. If you got the energy in the films that you're making, it's the same thing. If your films are good, and I think our films are good, if your films are good and they've got that energy, that's what brings people in, you know?
Definitely.
But yeah, that's what Tom's very, very good at.
We've seen Pandorica and we've seen Redwood. We can tell you they are very good. So
yeah,
thanks, man. Pandorica, I mean, I'm obviously like Tom. You know, it's all credit to Tom Payton, really. He's an amazing visionary. He's an amazing writer. I've never met anybody in my life that churns out ideas as fast as that man. He's sitting on loads. Like we have beers, and he's like, I've got an idea about this, and I've got an idea about that, and then, like, you know, in the 4 or 5 years I've known him, you know, he's pitched me at least 100 different film ideas, and it's like, mate, you know, they're all good. So yeah.
So when you go home after a few beers, are you sitting writing them down?
Well, yes, trying to keep up with it always just, you know, is a challenge. It is a challenge.
So just get a voice recorder.
Yep. SFW was awesome for you guys, and you had a great time showing Redwood, and like you say, everybody loved it. I never saw one person that didn't enjoy it. And then shortly after that, you took it over to Cannes.
We did. I mean, because we'd already sort of screened the film and things like that, we didn't show Redwood in Cannes. And we went to Cannes last year, and nobody really knew Pandorica. We'd only just started the ball rolling with the cinema tour and things like that. Whereas this year we went over to Cannes, everybody had already heard about Redwoods,
Yeah.
you know, and everybody was quite keen to talk to us, and there were lots of big companies and big investors, you know, that were very, very keen to especially speak to Tom, you know, and I think because when we went to Cannes, we were already funded and in pre-production on Black Site.
Nice.
So now we're over at you know, one of the world's biggest film festivals, as the guys who are churning out films, you know, sort of on these micro budgets, and we're on our third film in a year and a half. So everyone's really interested in how we've done that, how we've achieved that, the fact that the 2 films we have done have been successful, and you know, and what's coming in the future. And there were lots and lots of people. I think it's become apparent, or it was evident that Tom's the rising star in the independent British film industry, and everybody's starting to recognise that now. And yeah, our trip to Cannes was very much, come to our boat, can we have a drink, like, come and have a drink with us, I'll take you out for dinner. And it was, you know, it was nice. It really quite exciting, a complete, you know, change from what we had last year, whereas last year it was sort of hard work for us to, you know, network and things like that, whereas this year it was sort of coming to us a bit more, which is cool.
I remember the last time we spoke to Tom, he was telling us that when they took Pandorica, you guys threw a party as if you guys were the big thing, trying to like get people to come to us and all that. So it sounds very, very, very just a massive difference for you. That's great. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Was there never any moment this year though when you went over there and all this was happening and people were inviting you to all these different things? Were there ever any moments where you thought, this is mental?
I think every moment has been like that for the last year or so, really. You sort of take stock, don't you? Like, I've been into films since I was, you know, sort of 12, 13 years old, and Tom's the same, like, and George is exactly the same. And we have George Burt, obviously the DOP from Pandorica and Redwood, and producer on Black Site. And, you know, you're sort of, the three of us are sort of sitting around, because we know the film industry inside and out, because we've been fans of it for decades. Yeah. And, you know, George and I have been to university and done sort of TV and film design and film studies and things. And you're sort of looking at what we've done, and you're like, this doesn't happen. This just doesn't happen. This is mental. Like we did Pandorica, released that. A couple of months later, we're off. Someone's like, "Oh, come and make a vampire film in Poland," and then by August, Tom wrote that script in 2 days. Like, you know, and so it was like, "Oh, here's the vampire film," and they're like, "Right, we've shown it to the investor. He's happy. Let's go." Then 4 weeks later, we're in Poland shooting Redwood. We get that out, and all of a sudden it's like, boom, and then Redwood's taken off as well. And like, to be honest, I haven't really recovered from Pandorica. Like, there's still Pandorica stuff to do, you know. And now it's Redwood, and then another investor pops up and goes, "Well, I'll fund your next film." So Tom's like, "All right, great. Well, I've got this idea then. So, off we go." Now we're on again, and we sort of every now and then you slow down, you go, like, and Tom will say it as well. It's like, this is crazy, man. Like this is slightly unprecedented. You know what's happening here, and I think it's due to just a massive shift. And Tom, like, one thing that Tom's very, very good at is he's a very good salesman, because he's very charismatic, but he's very, very smart. And one thing that I think that Tom's picked up on, and we've started to learn over the last year, is there's a massive shift, a massive transition in the film industry at the moment, where the Hollywood system's undergoing a bit of an evolution. And whilst that's taking place, the independent film market is just booming. Yeah. And I think the appearance of the streaming platforms like Netflix and Amazon Prime and things like that have just given the independent film market a huge outlet. So couple that with the evolution of technology, the fact that, you know, people can do what we're doing. You don't need to spend tens of millions of pounds making films anymore. The technology is accessible. I'm sitting in front of 2 computers right now, you know, that I can do all kinds of visual effects and 3D animation on, and I'm in my living room, you know, and that's what we're talking about. So because it's so easy to make, I say easy, but it's easier now to make films and to do it with smaller crews. And like I was saying earlier, you know, you've got people that have got multiple skill sets. You can bring the budgets right down, and actually you can put out a film that looks like it was shot on a Hollywood budget, and it can do, and you've got the distribution for it as well, and it's all right there. And I think that the reason that the Hollywood system is undergoing a very slow transition is that they've not really adopted this yet. So everyone in the independent market is just going, right, we can make films and we can get them released, you know. And this is us, but like Cannes last year when we were talking about self-distributing Pandorica. People are like, oh, you can't do that. You need a sales agent. You need this. You need that. well, you don't, because we've just done it. You don't. So there is this sort of very old way of doing things. And like I say, Tom's very, very quick at spotting these, just these little breaks and going, this is what's going to be big. This is what we should do for the next year or the next 2 years, because this is what's going to work. And he's very, very, very good at spotting the trends just before they happen. So he's always ahead of the curve, which is great for people like us, because it's nice to be working with somebody like that, because everything you're doing, it actually has got somewhere to go. You're already confident that it's going to be successful.
That's awesome, isn't it? I'm sure it was when we had Cos on the podcast.
Corey Green.
A few months. He said something similar to that, Grace. We were talking about different cameras and all that kind of things. You've got an iPhone in your pocket with a 1080p camera.
Absolutely. There are apps you can download now for your iPhone that that will let you shoot in. You can shoot something on your iPhone that looks like it was shot on a camera that costs tens of thousands of pounds. You can, you can shoot in all kinds of different formats. You can shoot in, there's Filmic Pro, which you can shoot in S-Log, which is like a color profile, which is what you do when you're shooting on like an Alexa Mini or a Red. You're shooting these flat color profiles so that stuff can be color graded properly afterwards. You can do that on your phone now. You can. I wouldn't recommend that you go out and shoot a whole feature film on your phone, but it can be done. It could be done. So, it's that, like I say, the industry's changed. It's just not the same anymore. And I think more and more people are getting wise to it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was going to ask you a wee bit later on, because when we've been doing the indie talk, we have noticed that, like the indie market is, there's a guy, Sam Fontaine, just a couple of miles away from us, not very far from us. He made a movie for about £500. Yeah. It's not the best looking movie in the world. But Amazon bought it and Amazon Prime put it out, so it can be done. And that was like £500 filmed in Gretna.
I think everyone, there was, in the last, we have slowly watched this evolution. And I think, even sort of 15, 20 years ago, you started to get these franchises. Saw would be a great example of somebody made a very low budget film and the story and the concept was really engaging and it takes off. And that's the key. There is still a storytelling element to filmmaking, and you need a good idea, and it needs to be a story that people want to hear and they want to know about. But the actual practicality, that technical side that I was talking about earlier in filmmaking, that's become a hell of a lot easier. So the creative side is as it's always been, but this technical side that was originally like this barrier that stopped people from being able to you can't just, 50 years ago, you couldn't have just gone and get out and shot a film. You needed money, you needed to know the right people, you needed studios, you needed laboratories for film and all that stuff. Now, all that technical stuff has completely changed. It's accessible to everyone. So if you've got a great idea, it's easy for you to go and put that story out so people can hear it,
I think up next is you've got Fright Fest 2017 coming up.
Yeah, Redwood's at Fright Fest. Yeah.
It's headlining on the Friday night, isn't it? It's
Thursday. It's on the Thursday.
Thursday night.
Yeah, it's on the Thursday night alongside Cult of Chucky and Death Note. I think it's on the Thursday as well.
Wow. So can't wait to see that.
we were buzzing. We heard about Fright Fest. We were actually scouting the location for Black Site. And we were in the car on the way back. I was driving, and Tom was in the passenger seat, and George was asleep on the back seat. And Tom was like, "I just got an email," and so I read it out. He's like, "We've been accepted at Fright Fest." I was like, "Oh, mate, we were buzzing. We're like, that's amazing." Fright Fest is the big one. That's like the biggest horror festival in Europe. And there's serious companies that back that, and we know that that's where all the big distributors are. And we were like, "Wow, that's it's incredible." And then it just started. We just assumed we'd be in amongst all of the other independent films somewhere, and and then we started speaking to the guys at Fright Fest. They were like, "No, we want to put you here." I think like originally they were thinking, they sort of put us on the Thursday night with these 3 other films, and to sort of open the festival, and then obviously Cult of Chucky, the people the tickets will go for that, and then Death Note's obviously the big one. Yeah. And then the people that aren't getting the tickets to those, Redwood is the one that won't disappoint people. That's what the Fright Fest was saying to us. We were like, wow, that's amazing. And I think it started turning out that actually the Redwood seats were going faster than the Cult of Chucky. So we were like, this is just, again, one of those moments where you stop and you go, this is mental. This what's happening here? Like, this is amazing, you know. Just that, I think that the Fright Fest thing was just, I know it was for Tom as well. I think that was just a bit of clarification that we're on the right path, you know, we're on the right track, and what we're doing, there is a market for what we're doing, and we're sort of getting it right. And I think sometimes when you sort of make these films, it comes back to like the Sci-Fi Weekender, watching a crowd watch a project you were involved with. You can never have the experience that they're having, because you're never going to be able to watch that film for the first time. And like, when you're engaging with a film, you know, I watched the scary parts of Redwood, and all I remember is, you know, my mate Luke running around the woods in his pants, you know, with these black contact lenses in and things like this, and with his little blanket on, trying to keep warm in between takes. So I can't watch the scary moments of Redwood. So you never quite know how these things are going to land. And, you know, when you're sort of getting that kind of feedback from people, you know, the guys at Fright Fest, you're just like, we're definitely on the right lines here. We're definitely on the right lines.
100%.
So yeah,
that's pretty damn cool that, you know, you're, if not outdoing Chucky, at least you're sort of, you know, you're up there with Chucky. I mean,
I'm not sure where it is. I'm not sure where it is at the moment, but I know, certainly a couple of weeks ago, we were like, oh, we're putting more Redwood screenings on, because it's, you know, we thought it was going to be they said that they thought it was going to be the overspill from Cult of Chucky, and they were like, actually, well, we're putting more Redwood screenings on because that's not the case. Nice. There is a genuine interest in Redwood, and we were like, this is incredible, absolutely incredible. You know,
I'm really not surprised either, because when people started seeing like at the Weekender and other places and that, it's a fantastic film, and it has got a lot of buzz about it. I mean, I can't tell you for seeing somebody talking about Redwood, which is fantastic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you then, Craig. Tom has said, when we interviewed Tom on that Saturday, he said he was, you know, pacing at the bar, nervous as hell while the movie was playing. So what were you doing?
I was sitting with Mike on the stalls at the back. Same thing I did when we watched Pandorica, watching the crowd.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's all I was doing. I sat at the back. I did this last year when we did Pandorica there. I sat next to Mark Zammit, and I sat there right at the back and watched the crowd, and just was fascinated with how they were getting into. Because, like I say, I know where the scary moments are supposed to be, and I can see, you know, because I understand how this narrative is constructed. But at the same time, I'm not going to get that jump moment, because I know what's coming, and because there's so much more behind this film for me. I'm only ever going to remember the experience, the adventure that I had of being part of the project. So it's interesting to watch people and see how they're responding to, you know, things that they're supposed to respond to. Pandorica, that was actually a bit of a surprise. You know, people were finding certain scenes funny, and we were like, I don't think that was meant to be funny, but it's great, because now we're seeing actually how people are interpreting what's been done. And I know Tom's the same. He does get nervous. The first time anybody would, like, I've made enough short films in my time and been at festivals with them, and you get very nervous, because you think, it's on me, you know, if people don't like this, they're all going to turn around and look at me, and, you know, and it's my reputation, and it's my career, and it's my art. So you do get very, very nervous, and he paces up and down. But I do, as much as the nerves are there, I like to watch the crowd and just see how they're interpreting what they're seeing on the screen, because their interpretation is always going to be different from mine.
And calm Mike down.
and calm Mike down. I think about half an hour in, and nobody had got up and left. I think Mike had sort of calmed down at that point. And
good lad.
Yeah, he was good. He was all right.
So that's Redwood. That's Pandorica and Redwood kind of done now. Well, they're still ongoing. You've got things going on with them still, obviously. But,
there's always something to be doing.
But you're going into production on your third feature in what is it, 18 months or?
Yeah, well, we think we were shooting Pandorica in October 2015. So just under 2 years. Just under 2 years.
Wow.
That's mad. That is mad.
It's mad. Yeah, it's mad.
That is. And you're going into production on your third movie, which is Black Site, in August, so a couple of weeks from now. And we've started getting some cast announcements, shaping up very nicely. Some pretty badass names in there. Bentley Kalu in there. Nice to see his name, Toby Osmond.
Toby's a fantastic actor. He does a lot of work with Cos. So he was in Dark Beacon, which was Corey's one,
nice.
and films like that. But the cast is it's pretty strong. Like, obviously, it's great to have Bentley back. He was in Pandorica with us, and he's he's a bit of a powerhouse as an actor. When we did Pandorica, because he had sort of Age of Ultron and Edge of Tomorrow and stuff on his credits, he was kind of like our sort of named actor, if you like, and he is absolutely incredible. And I think when it came to Blacksite, Tom, when he was writing that character, I think he just had Bentley in his mind right from the start. So when Bentley came in and did the sort of the audition and did the read through, he just nailed it, absolutely nailed it. But yeah, I love working with Bentley. He's a bit of a character. He's a little bit clumsy. I mean, he broke a lot of props on Pandorica.
I like how when we spoke to Tom, it's all about the actors acting, and then you speak to Craig, and it's like
clumsy bastard.
Yeah, he's clumsy.
I look at it as like, oh, Bentley's broken a spear. Have we got any more spears? Have we got any money for any more spears? I don't know. Oh God. But yeah, no, everything he touched on Pandorica, he broke in some way. It came down to, I remember the choreographing, the guys were blocking and choreographing the fight scene at the end around the Land Rover, and Bentley was like, oh, what I could do here is I could just sort of throw this spear and just to miss Jade and just hit the wall. It's got a rubber tip on it, so it'd be fine. I think Tom was like, just show me what that's going to look like. So Bentley just launches this spear. And we're not even shooting. It just hit those crates, those ammunition crates from that scene at the end of Pandorica, just shattered. And everybody's sort of standing there, that few seconds looking at it on the floor. And then it was, have we got another spear? And it's like, oh, we've got, and then it was the art department, like, we've got one spear left. So please, and it was short as well. So I know it's one of those little trivia facts, like, there's a little bit at the end of Pandorica where Bentley's spear is about 2 foot shorter than it has been for the rest of the film, because we've only got the short-handled one left, and that's what he's using at the end.
We need to put that on IMDb.
Yep.
But yeah. There's a little bit of trivia for you. Yeah, Bentley. Yeah, number 9 spear gets a little bit shorter at the end of the film because Bentley broke the spear in the choreography, and he's a little bit clumsy. I think he's just he's like 6'8". And he's all solid muscle, and I mean, he doesn't know his own strength. So, like I say, he deals with all these props, these things that aren't supposed to be. It looks like a wooden mask, but obviously it's made out of polystyrene. It's not a solid wooden mask. And it was. I remember that day, Tom gave the mask to Bentley and said, "Be careful with it, don't break it." Bentley took it out of his hands and went, "I broke the mask." And it was like, oh God. So back to the art department, watched them glue this mask back together. I was like, right. Don't break it again. But yeah, no, I love working with Bentley. He's an amazing actor. He's really, really good. And do you know what? The cast we've got lined up for Blacksite is just incredible. Yeah. And I think it's sort of it's this evolution in our careers, and certainly in Tom's career, that we're in this position now where Pandorica's done really well. Redwood's looking like it's going to be a success, and has already started to see some of that. And now it's becoming easier to negotiate, and there's lots of people that are coming to us and saying we'd love to work with you, and bits and pieces. And obviously Mike is an amazing actor. You guys have seen Redwood, so you know how good Mike is. So great to be working with Mike again. Sam Schnitzler, who's playing Ren in Blacksite, again, just an amazing actor. We've literally been doing fight choreography today. Actually, that's where I've been all day, and watching her and Phoebe, who's playing this character Kerr, choreograph their fight scene from the end of the film. It's just incredible. Such amazing talent on this one.
Yeah, you get an impression of that, sort of the progression.
Yeah, definitely.
The scale of the movies that you're making. So you mentioned the fight choreography there. So are we in for some awesome set pieces here?
Yes. I'm not going to. No spoilers. No spoilers.
Yeah, obviously.
No spoilers, but there's a lot of action in this one, and I think what you just said there, and seeing the progression. I think again something else that's I think lots of independent filmmakers sort of fall into is that when you get started, you go out and you get a little bit of money together, or somebody gives you a bit of money and you make a low budget film. And then if that does well, you then move on a little bit and someone gives you a bit more money. And I think lots and lots of independent filmmakers, they don't follow this curve, and there's no evolution in what they do. Their first film, their second film, their third film, they never really, they sort of just get stuck with no ambition, and they go out and they make 3 films that are all like each other. And those are the guys that sort of fade away, and that small percentage of guys that then move on and make that big leap from low budget independent filmmaking into the big leagues are the ones where you can see that evolution, you can see the progression. So from Pandorica to Black Site, the progression. I mean, this is ambitious. Like, don't get me wrong. We've spent a lot of time focusing on the schedule and the budget and working out. And Tom, again, the absolute master behind tailoring a script to fit the budget, has thought very long and hard about how we're going to do a big budget action film with a little budget. And that's what's starting to transpire is that actually this is looking really, really good. And I think this is for the first time. There was a bit of action in Pandorica, there's a little bit of action in Redwood. This is all action from start to finish.
Nice.
And watch it, and I think that's the evolution for Tom, is that now showing that genre films he's got down. He's got fantastic ideas. He can create these big worlds, these engaging characters and storylines. And now we've got, the fight choreographer we've got is a guy called Mark Johnston, and he's just been absolutely amazing with some of the choreography and stuff he's been putting together, and working with him today. And I think now that that's the sort of one element that was missing from what we were doing before, for what we're doing on Pandorica and Redwood, is those big action scenes, proper fight choreography and things like that. So it's really interesting to see, and I like to say it's shaping up to be quite a fast paced, adrenaline pumping action film, which is cool.
Nice.
See, that's one thing you can say about Tom, with the people getting bogged down in the same sort of thing. It's kind of like he's definitely not, because we saw Pandorica, and then that's how we were speaking to you guys. And then we ended up at SFW watching Redwood, which again was completely different. And then he came out and he said, we're making a Lovecraft sort of raid for sort of... And I'm sitting there thinking, he's doing fucking what now? And it was like, the raid, not quite the first film I would think of when I think of Pandorica and Redwood. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? He's done it twice before, so...
Well, that's very true.
Yeah.
We did ask him when we sat down with him, so are you doing Pandorica 2?
Yeah.
And he kind of said, well, he didn't answer exactly, but he said, nah, not yet.
He's good at that. He's very good at that.
Yeah.
Pandorica 2, obviously there's always been talk about the sequels to Pandorica, and there's always lots going on, and like I say, Tom's one of these people who has he doesn't get bored of things, but he seems to get inspiration, seems to hit him very, very quickly. So we sort of move on, and very quickly, coming off the back of Redwoods, there was another project that we were going to go on to, and Tom was like, this is what we're going to move on to next, and I want to do this one. I was like, this one's really cool. And then we finished Redwood, and Tom was like, actually, I'll come up with another idea. I think we should do this one next, and that was Black Site. And then elements of the other one that he wanted to do have now come over and are now in Black Site, which is like sort of some aesthetic visual pieces, which is really cool. But he has, these ideas very, very quickly. So, sequels to Pandorica, maybe one day. But I think, like I was talking about, you need to show that evolution. Essentially everything that's being done at the moment, certainly for Tom, is not an audition as such, but when you sort of working with these low budgets and things like that, and obviously we've all got colossal ambitions about moving on into the big leagues of the film industry, and Tom's got all of those ambitions. He wants to go to Hollywood, he wants to direct the big films and things like that. And at this point, it's being able to show people that you can do that. So if we went and did Pandorica 2 now, would there be that progression? I'm not sure, because it'd be quite difficult to maybe show that if you're just making a sequel to the film that you made before. Whereas if we've got 3 very, very different films that are almost classified completely differently. Pandorica was fantasy action. We've got Redwood, which is just a straight up horror film, and now we're making this proper sci-fi piece, you know, and they're almost three different genres of films, and like I say, and the tone and the narrative is completely different, and yeah, Black Site is it's really shaping up. We've got, you know, we've got some cool guys doing the soundtrack, and it's going to be really, really fast paced. Whereas Redwood was kind of a bit of a slow burner, almost like a drama.
Yeah.
This one, it just goes in. You know, you get this sort of establishing part at the beginning of the film, and there's action all the way to the end. So it's going to be good, man.
So it sounds like you're going to be having some headaches over the next month. Some big headaches.
Like I say, you know, it's ambitious, but I'm a bit like Tom, and I'm a bit of a why not man, and he comes up with these ideas. And do you know what? An example of it's just showing you the evolution of Tom as a filmmaker. I remember when we first started talking about Pandorica, there was another film that Tom wanted to do that he was sort of going down the traditional route with, looking for investment in the traditional way and sales agents in the traditional way. And obviously it's like everybody else, you sort of get stuck and it stalls a little bit, and you end up waiting and people tell you the money's coming and it doesn't come, and you sort of get stuck in this part of the industry. And that's when Tom came up with Pandorica. It was like, we're just going to go and do it. Let's just go and shoot a film. We'll all put some money in and we'll go and make a film. And that's how Pandorica started. And I remember at the time, Tom's never made a short film. He never went to university. He comes from these clubbing videos, music videos, corporate filmmaking. And my background was in I was the director in live TV for a long time. So I used to do live sports on like Eurosports and Premier Sports and BBC and Sky and stuff. And then George was really the only one out of the three of us that had experience on film sets as a cinematographer and things like that, and as a line producer. And Tom was like, we want to do Pandorica, and there were ideas at the beginning about seeing the whole tribe and the Verosians, and it was just like, you can't do it on a low budget. And we're all sitting there looking at it like, no, you can't really do it on a low budget. It's got to be a condensed story. Mm-hmm. So we did it like that, and then we did Redwood, and now we're looking at it going, actually, I think we can do like the bigger action film with a low budget if we're clever about how we shoot it. And that's what we've done. So, 2 years ago, even we were saying to ourselves, this can't be done. And now we're saying, actually, I think we can. Why not? Let's go and do it. And let's figure it out. Let's solve this problem. So I'm a bit like Tom in that sense. And I'm a bit of a why not? Let's just go and do it. Let's just do it. Just say yes and figure out the details later.
So on that, we're not going to ask for any sort of spoilers at all, but can you give us a little information on sort of what the movie is about, sort of just the story? I would obviously not any. You don't have to go in depth, just broad strokes. I mean,
the outline. So Tom has taken a lot of the H.P. Lovecraft, not mythology, but certainly the ideas and the tone of it. So the idea of having these sort of cosmic horrors that exist in a dimension alternate to ours, and that they're indescribable, that they're so horrific that you can't. Lovecraft talks about characters like Cthulhu and things like this, but he never describes them, and he describes them by saying they are so horrific that you can't describe them, and to see them as a human would drive you insane. So Tom's taken that idea and has said, we're going to set this in a world where there is this dimension, and there are these cosmic beings that call themselves the Elder Gods, and the premise is that these Elder Gods are slightly depowered. There's something going on in their dimension, and it's sort of almost like it's a bit of a dying world, if you like. So they've been transitioning across into our dimension and messing about, and like I say, believe themselves to be gods because they are more superior beings. And since the 1920s, which is obviously a little nod to H.P. Lovecraft, there has been this government organisation called Artemis, whose job it is to round up these Elder Gods and deport them back to their own dimension. So they do this in a very specific location, the government, the Black Site, and then so that's the world that it's set in. And then the story is that there's the girl Ren, whose dad is an Artemis agent, and he is killed by a particular Elder God, which is the character Erebus, which is obviously the sort of coming from the Greek mythology there, the sort of gods and the names and stuff. So Erebus kills Rob, which is Ren's dad. Ren witnesses this as a child. It drives her a little bit mad. And then she grows up and follows in her father's footsteps, but is always slightly held back by a psychological issue. So out of respect for her dad, she's given a desk job at the Black Site. And then the Elder God Erebus, who killed her parents, is eventually caught, and he's brought into the Black Site to be deported. So she has her sort of issues to deal with on that. And then whilst Erebus is in the black site, his cult of human followers attack the black site in an attempt to break him out. And then we end up with this going into sort of the Raid Diehards storyline, where Ren ends up the sort of last man standing inside the black site, trying to, get to the point. The idea is that Mike's character Sam plays the deportation officer, and his job, he's just a civilian that has a photographic memory, so he has memorized pages and pages of text that he needs to recite, which are the incantations that deport these guys back to their own dimension. So he's obviously in the black site at the same time, and Ren has to get him to the deportation room, fighting her way through the facility that's now been taken over by this cult.
Sweet, that sounds fucking awesome.
See, you throw the words "the Raid" in, and I'm instantly, and especially when we've been seeing like sort of your set location scouting with the underground buildings and that. It just looks like it's going to be phenomenal. It looks like it's going to be great.
The location's absolutely fantastic. I'm not going to disclose exactly where it is at the moment, because we don't want loads of people ransacking us while we're shooting. But the location's absolutely fantastic. And every time we do a film, it's like another adventure, and like any adventure, and they're almost stories in themselves. You always meet these slightly eccentric characters and things like that, and we sort of found this location, and the guy that owns it is one of these slightly eccentric characters, and and it's fantastic, man. It's going to be a great month in August.
Yeah, man, sweet. So the big question, and I suppose the important question, is what's the catering situation going to be on set?
Well, do you know what? It's what, for journalists, you mean, like for you guys? Well, exactly. You always have a choice. Your chicken nuggets or cheeseburger, obviously, filmmaking is actually quite a slow process. And the benefit of the Happy Meals is that they come with a toy. So if you're a little bit bored on set, you got your little toy to keep you occupied.
Yeah, we've spoke about it on an episode that'll be coming out tomorrow. Tom's kind of graciously invited us to come down and have a look one day, and we're really looking forward to that. So literally, that was like the first question I had, like, what's the bait situation?
Got to find out that first.
Aye.
Well, I'll make sure that you're on the catering list for that day, boys.
Excellent, man.
It's entirely up to we have Bev is our caterer. She did Pandorica for us, and do you know what? I found her on the industrial estate. I walked through a little bit of an industrial estate from my house to take my son to school, and she had like just like that catering van, like a burger van and when we were doing Pandorica, we were doing it on such a low budget, and I sort of walked past her a few times, and then I thought, we need a caterer, and I just walked up to her van and I said, do you fancy catering a film? bring your trailer to this paintball place and cater a film. She was like, yeah, brilliant. And she was really, really good. And she was like, that was her first film as well. She was like, I'd love to do more of these. And then, because obviously we went off to Poland to do Redwood, and it was only me, Tom, and George that went. We didn't have any of our Pandorica crew with us. And then when we were doing Black Site, we're like, we're putting the Pandorica crew back together, and we're like, well, we'll find Bev. So we did. So we sort of tracked Bev down again. Like, fancy coming to do another film? She was like, oh God, I've been waiting for you guys to come back and ask me. Like,
oh, that's awesome.
So she's awesome. She does the bacon rolls in the morning, and spaghetti bolognese is quite good. So she's good. You're
happy now?
I am.
Her food is good, boys. Don't worry.
That was literally the first thing. But yeah, so I think one question that I did have, which I never sent you over, is obviously you've had Pandorica at SFW, and then you went there with Redwood. What do you think the chances are Black Site could be ready for next year's SFW?
It will definitely be ready. We turn these films around pretty quickly. Whether we are at SFW, I would like to be at SFW next year. I think we really enjoy the sci-fi weekends. We enjoy the festival atmosphere. Love talking to the guys there. All the fans, everybody. It's kind of, I think, as we're growing, it's kind of nice to sort of see the same people coming back every year. Guys who watch Pandorica. Best thing about this year is that we sold a load of Pandorica hoodies last year, went to the Sci-Fi Weekend of this year, and people are walking around in their Pandorica hoodies. Like, oh wow, So I would like to be at SFW next year. The film will certainly be ready by then because we turn them around pretty quickly. Whether it will be there or not, it remains to be seen.
Yeah, that's cool. I kind of thought that'd be the answer.
Hopefully, it will be.
I mean, like I say, I think we would like to be at the SFW next year.
Well, we're hoping to go back down, so it'd be nice to see another Tom Payton film.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
They're good. Do you know what? They're really, like I say, they're really good, and they're great premieres or test screenings almost for us to have because we do get all that positive and constructive feedback and things like that. And even Redwood's undergone a couple of changes since it was screened at Sci-Fi Weekend Day, kind of based on what people have told us and some of the feedback we've got, and some of it from the Sci-Fi Weekender, some of it from the other guys that were sort of looking at it and studios and distributors that were interested in it and things like that. So they're really good screenings and premieres for us to have. And like I say, we love going there and we love talking to the fans that are there and things like that. So I would love to be at Sci-Fi Weekend next year, yeah.
So with regards to the distribution and what have you for Redwood, can you tell us anything about when it's going to be on, general release or anything like that? Or
it's all in flux at the moment, and obviously, it was a co-production with the Polish production company that we did it with. So it kind of comes down to them as well, and it's all in flux. I know there's I think Fright Fest is sort of the next step that we're looking at. Once it's screened at Fright Fest, I think it's maybe looking at the options, and I know Tom's sort of looking at a number of different options for Redwood, and the guys over in Poland have been looking at a number of different options for Redwood. So that's a hard question to answer. There is no definitive answer to that at the moment. So sorry, Wes.
I mean, the only reason we have to ask is because this movie needs to be seen. People need to be getting.
Yeah, we can't do a proper review of it in case we give a spoiler away and Tom tries to kill us, or you shout at us, Craig.
Yeah, we don't want you shouting at us.
Be a lot of finger pointing and shouting, yeah. But yeah, no, it will be out. I think it's just, I know that there is a lot of interest in Redwood, and there are a number of different options that the guys are looking at. It will be out. It's just a case of who is doing it.
Sure.
Which, to be fair, as a problem, is a bloody good problem to have. So
it's a really nice problem to have, It's a really, really nice problem to have, And again, like just to step up from Pandorica, where it was all self-distribution, and now, lots and lots of people are sort of very interested in what Tom's doing.
Excellent.
That's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's great.
The reason that we started Indie Talk, these episodes, is that we wanted to start getting on creators like yourself, like Tom, like Cause, the many people that we've started speaking to, comic books, videos, movies, everything, It's because literally the atmosphere right now in the low-key, low-budget movies is just so fucking good. And you've kind of already answered it a couple of times, but personally, how exciting do you find this time? Like, on not so much on the label production side, like just for you personally?
I mean, it's incredible. It's like I live in a little town outside Southend-on-Sea in Essex. I'm an hour out of London. I don't live in Hollywood. So if I wasn't living in this day and age, I wouldn't be making films. I would have had to have picked up and gone and had a whole life somewhere else, and then tried to get into an industry that was very, very niche, that was very small. So for me, like for someone like me, like some kid from Rochford who just wanted to make films, as a teenager, it's incredible because I can actually go out and do it. So I love the day and age that I live in. I really do. And I love being able to be part of an industry that's so much larger than it's ever been. And I meet loads and loads of people, at Sci-Fi Weekend, the Comic Cons, networking events, Cannes, film festivals. I meet hundreds and hundreds of people, and it's just amazing that, we live in the age where everybody's got a shot, and everybody's got an opportunity. And I think because of the way that, distribution has evolved, with Netflix and Amazon Prime and the streaming platforms and social media and all of this stuff, it's not like everybody's fighting for a few cinema slots. Everyone, it's almost the competitive element has been taken away from it slightly, which is great because now you have this creative environment and everybody's supporting each other because there is room for everybody. There is room for everybody, and it's such an exciting time to live in.
That's good. We've said that a few times, haven't we? That with all of the thousands of or hundreds of superhero movies that are coming out, and 70 odd superhero movies that are coming out over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, movies like Redwood and, you know, other sort of independent movies would just be forgotten. They'd be lost.
But they're not.
So as you say, Craig, it is a very exciting time where guys like you and Tom can make Pandorica and they can make Redwood and Black Site, and it'll actually be found and it'll be seen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a massive fanboy. I'm a huge Marvel fan. You know, I love it. I love all the Marvel films, and you know, DC films have had their problems, but have still been enjoyable. I'm sitting here in my Man of Steel t-shirt right now. So yeah, you know, I will always be a fan of that part of the industry. But it's fantastic that, like I say, as a fan, I can actually go out and, you know, and I can go into the industry, you know. And when I first started wanting to work in films, obviously there was a bit of resistance from my dad and stuff like that. It's like, oh, sort of telling me you want to be a rock star, you need to get a proper job, you know, you need to go and work in the city, do law or accountancy or something like that, stockbroker or something like that. And so yeah, and I was like, no, like this industry is not what it used to be. I'm not like, I'll see you later, I'm off to Hollywood to make a success of myself. It's a huge industry, and everybody, there's work, money, jobs for everyone. You know, it's fantastic. It's such an amazing time to be alive. It really is.
I did say to you a little while back, I mean, I went, I did like, I only ever went to college and did like a film course and all that. And that was kind of like, I wanted to get into that and I wanted to go down that road. Because like yourself, I've been a movie fan since, you know, whenever, you know. It's always been there for me. But it always seemed to me, living in a small town where we live, it's just not feasible. It's never going to happen. And then we started speaking to guys like yourself, Tom, Cos, on these Indie Talk episodes. And it's like, you know what? Why the fuck not us? Like, it can be done.
Exactly, yeah.
It can be done.
I mean, Tom's the prime example. I mean, Tom comes from Walsall, you know, like he grew up a few streets. Honestly, there's no joke. You could ask him this. He grew up a few streets across from where they filmed Benefit Street. You know, you can come from anywhere. Like, you can come from anywhere and you can do it. You know, and like I say, the technical side of it has become so easy or so accessible for people now, that you just need that creative side, and that creativity can come from anywhere. Used to be, to get the technical side of it, you had to be in London or you had to be in Hollywood. Now you can do it from anywhere. You just need that creative side, and the creative side could come from anywhere.
So with the creative side, which you're very creative as well as Tom is, you were telling me about something that you had in your head when we were at SFW. And I get the feeling you won't say much at all, but you were spilling the beans after a few ciders.
Yeah, man, like yeah. That was all off the record, though. You remember?
Yeah, of course.
Remember we said that. We definitely said that.
We definitely did, which is why which is why I've never talked about it. But is this possibly something you would be working on in the future for yourself?
Do you know what I've got? You know, I've directed a lot of short films, and I've got aspirations to write and direct myself. And I've got a number of projects, some that ideas that I've had since I was a teenager. You know, one idea I had, which is called Eden, is a premise that an idea I've had in my head since I was about 13, and that's part of the reason I wanted to become a filmmaker, because I've got. It's almost like a compulsive need. I've got things that I want to say. I've got ideas about philosophy, ideas about how the world and the universe work, and you know, I've got stories that I want to tell, and I think they're interesting stories. I think people will want to listen. And film, I'm such a massive fan of film that, you know, if I can do what I love and put my ideas across and leave a bit of a legacy, you know, when I'm gone, you know, that here is Craig Hinde, and here is what he thought, and here are his ideas. That's, you know, I'd love to do that. Absolutely love to do that. I love where I am at the moment, and I owe loads to Tom. You know, a massive amount to Tom for where I am personally in the industry at the moment. I certainly don't think I would have got as far as this without him, because of, you know, his vision, and I don't just mean like the scripts that he writes. I mean his ability to look at the industry and pick up how it's evolving, and how you can circumnavigate all of the old stuff that used to hold people back, all of the old systems. And you know, it's you know, I'd absolutely love to get my own stuff out, and I'm sure I will over the next couple of years. I think the bottom line is I just love filmmaking. Just want to make, as long as I can keep making films with my mates, I'm pretty happy and content, really. So yeah, but I've got a few ideas. Eden, which is sort of a story based on, in a nutshell, without giving too much away, it's set in a world there's a lot of religious mythology that I slightly rework and fit the universe that I want to set it in. It's a war between mankind and angels that's been ongoing for a long time and sort of goes on behind the scenes. And yeah, that's where that is. I've got a couple of other sci-fi ideas that I don't want to talk about at the moment, so I don't want to get ripped off. I've got a couple of other big sci-fi ideas, and yeah.
Well, that was all off the record, that whole conversation, but on the record, it sounded fucking great. So
you did try and explain it to me on the way back to the caravan that night, but I was still...
You were still spazzing out.
Yeah.
So on that, quickly, Chris obviously lost his mind and lost like the ability to talk when he met Nicholas.
Pretty much, that's not exaggerating at all.
Yeah.
How hard were you geeking out when you first kind of got on set with him?
I was. I don't know what I was. I was geeking out when we had Nikki. Tom's definitely a bigger Buffy fan than I was. I was a fan of Buffy, but I wasn't like a hardcore watch every episode fan of Buffy.
Yeah.
So I was geeking out. I was like, Xander from Buffy, you know. But Tom was like, Xander from Buffy, you know. I've seen every episode of Buffy, and he's definitely the bigger Buffy fan. And it was quite strange how it all came about. There was a conversation that was had. I think it was George, because we were sort of looking at this Redwood script, and we've got this character Vincent. And I remember George's initial one was like, I think I can get Jake the Snake. Like that, honestly, that's how it started. I think I can get. I'm pretty sure I can get Jake the Snake, the old WWF wrestler.
Yeah.
And so we're like, okay, that's cool, man. Like, let's try it. And then Tom was like, do you know what? If we could get anybody from Buffy to be in our vampire film, I think that would be incredible. So we started reaching out to various sort of Buffy cast members, and Nikki came back pretty quickly and said, it sounds interesting, I'd like to watch Pandorica and let you know. And he must have sat and watched Pandorica right after sending that email, because about 2.5 hours later, email back going, love Pandorica, it's great, I really want to work with you guys, tell me more about the part, when can I come over, when do we start shooting? It's like, wow,
sweet.
Like Nikki wants to be in the film. So I know that Nikki and Tom were talking for a little while, and then we flew him over. We had a week. He was only on set for one day, but we had a week with him out in Poland. And it was an experience. Like, you guys met him at the Sci-Fi Weekend. He's a bit of a character. He's a bit of a wild card, and you know, he's a very, very creative guy, and he's kind of unpredictable in that sense. Like, you know, you have these really interesting days with him, because I think he's one of these people who doesn't quite see the world in a conventional sense, and that comes across in his personality. When you spend time with him, you never know like what personality quirks and stuff are going to come up, and every day is interesting with Nikki. I will say that every day is interesting with Nikki. But yeah, absolutely amazing. He's an incredible actor, though. Absolutely incredible actor.
And is he another one that was clumsy, or?
No. Nikki was absolutely fine. It was just Mike. I think there was. I don't want to give too many Redwood spoilers away, but there is a scene very early on in Redwood where Mike's character Josh goes off and has to cut up some firewood, and sort of gave him this sort of penknife saw. And I remember saying, it's like, Mike, whatever you do not cut your hand. No, fine. All you got to do is saw that stick with the penknife. That absolutely fine. Start shooting the scene. Bang. And we got to the end of the scene, and he was like, I need a plaster. You cut yourself. He went, it's the first thing I did. First thing I did was cut my finger. So okay, get the plasters and stuff in, and sort it out. And like I say, just he's a couple of other little things. He's a little bit accident prone. Not like, I'm not talking about like Mr. Bean accident prone, but it's a little bit accident prone and stuff. But to be honest,
painting a very different picture of what Tom painted about Mike.
What did he paint? What picture did Tom paint?
Just about how marvellous of an actor he is. And
oh, mate, I mean, you guys have seen Redwood. Yeah. The guy's absolutely incredible.
Oh, there's no two ways about it.
He's an absolutely amazing talent. Like, he's going to be a big one day. Mike will be huge one day.
I mean, we said on the episode when we were speaking to them, we were saying beforehand, there's a couple of scenes. Obviously, we'll not go into it, but there's a couple of scenes in Redwood when I was literally sitting there going, "Fuck, this guy can act."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we mentioned it on the other episode, but it was just like, And all the while, I'm sitting there saying that to the guy, and he's just sitting there with a pint in front of him, just sort of like, oh, thanks. And I'm like, no, thank you.
I mean, he's actually. I mean, to be honest, he has become a mate because I have a very similar sense of humour, and we often just WhatsApp random memes to each other. So I have a very similar sense of humour to Mike. But as an actor, man, he's going to be huge one day. Yeah, he's an incredible talent. You can see it instantly, and the guy's so amazingly professional. You know, you meet a lot of egos, you meet a lot of divas in this industry. The guy is quite possibly one of the easiest actors I've ever worked with on a set. Just absolute pleasure to have, and I can't wait to be working with him again on Black Site, to be honest, because like I say, we have a good laugh, and you know, I know that we're sort of safe with Mike because I know he'll deliver the performances. Yeah. I also know, from my perspective as the first AD, I know I'm not going to have there's not too much babysitting to be done. There's not too much ego to have to sort of pander to, because he's just a really down to earth guy, and he's the same as us. He's got the similar ambitions and aspirations. He understands where we are in the industry at the moment and how we're going to get to the next step, and all of that comes across instantly.
And he's definitely one to watch. We've said that. We've said that for the last year, really. He is definitely one to watch. So with that about egos and stuff, I'm going to have to ask now: is there anybody who's thrown on the set of Pandorica, Redwood, and Upcoming? Obviously, you've not done Black Site yet, but is there anybody who's thrown a bit of a diva sort of moment that you've had to be like, you know what?
Oh, well, the answer is yes. Yes, I'm not going to go into details, but yeah, you do come across people that they're and I'm not. It's not necessarily actors that I'm talking about. I mean, people assume. Do you know what? With actors, I think there are egos. You do have divas. They are in the industry. We all know who the big A-listers are because they're constantly reported on. Yeah. But the industry is much bigger than just actors. I also think that actors sometimes get a bad rap. What I was talking about earlier in the podcast, when you're an actor or a director and you're trying to convince yourself that the world you're playing this character in is real, you try and shut yourself off from everything that's going on around you. So I have met guys who've worked on films who say, so-and-so was a bit arrogant, they never ever spoke to me. And I'm like, yeah, but was that because they're arrogant or because they're doing their job, and their job is to pretend that you're not there? That's what they're trying to do. And you have various levels of actors. Some guys can switch it on and off really quickly, and then you have guys that they can't switch their brain off that quickly, and it takes them a little bit to really focus and concentrate. All the lighting guys are not there, and the wardrobe guys, the guys that are constantly touching them up and touching up makeup and touching up wardrobe, that actually they're not there. So when they appear to just be blanking you or not speaking to you, it's not because they're being rude, it's because they are trying to pretend you're not there in order to do their job. But the industry's way bigger than actors, and egos can appear anywhere. So there's lots and lots of there are people that I've met and I thought, do you know what, I'm probably not going to work with you again, but but I won't say
right up until that last little bit there, because we know he's working with Tom again. It sounded like you might have been talking about Tom.
I don't know what. Me and mates have been Tom for 4 or 5 years now, and like I say, Tom and George, we're mates first, I think, and it's a big part of it is making films with your mates. That's what I wanted to do. When you decide that you want to go into an industry where you could have potential massive success, and those are your ambitions and your dreams, you do have to set yourself a bar and say, this is the life that I will be content and happy with. And I set myself the bar early on and said, I don't care if we're going out and making films for 10 grand or 10 million pound or 100 million pound. As long as I'm making films with my mates, then I will be content and happy, and that's it. And working with Tom and George, like I say, we were mates first, and it's just been it's been a little adventure on every film.
That's a good way to go.
Definitely,
I like that.
Definitely,
yeah. See, I would drop you straight away.
Well,
you'd be the first person out the door.
No, fuck you. I'm the creative one, so you'd be.
we're pretty much coming to the end now. We've got a couple of little questions that we're going to end with. But first of all, before we do that, we're going to let you do some pimpage, which is basically where people can find you. Just shill yourself for any more jobs that don't involve Tom or do involve Tom, and just tell people how they can find more about Craig Hinde.
Yeah, well, like I say, first AD for hire, producer for hire. You can find me at www.craighinde.com. It's Hinde. So you can contact me through the website. You can see what we're up to. You can obviously link to the projects. You can link to Black Site. You can follow me on Facebook. Obviously, follow Black Site on Facebook. Yeah, Black Site Movie Official. Twitter at Black Site Movie. The website's up and running now. So www.blacksitemovie.com. You can check that out. Do follow the website. Over the next month or so, there's going to be some nice little bits of content that are going to start appearing on the website and things like that. And not necessarily behind the scenes stuff, but there are plans, for little bits of content, that are actually in the world of Black Site itself. May start appearing on the website, so do keep an eye on it. And definitely follow it on Facebook, because that's where all the big news goes, and Twitter.
One thing we mentioned it last time we spoke to Tom. We mentioned when we spoke to Tom and Mike, the social media aspect. You guys have got a massive grip on that, because Facebook and Twitter, you're absolutely killing it.
Man, well, it's hard work.
Yeah,
but it's not complicated. Everybody should be able to do it, and I cannot stress enough how important it is to spend a bit of time. Whether you watch a YouTube tutorial or you actually pay to go and do one of these courses, if you want to do this and you want to promote, it doesn't even have to be films. You want to promote anything, look into how you can market on social media, because it's so important in this day and age. And I think it's part of that evolution in the film industry that's bypassing this old system, that you can, as a filmmaker, you can reach fans directly and instantly, So it's very, very important. I cannot stress enough how much you should put into your social media.
I think the first time I got a real glimpse of that was after I'd written a review for Pandorica for the website, and obviously it goes out on Twitter and all that, and Tom had liked it and retweeted it, and I'm thinking, who's Tom Payton? And so I looked into it and I'm like, holy shit, it's the fucking director of the movie, and he's on Twitter and he's liking my review, and I'm like, Jesus. So I thought, you know what, I'll send a cheeky little personal message. I'll not get an answer, but I'll send a message. And I got an answer with it, and I'm like, holy shit, he's answering me. So it's like, straight away I'm kind of like, you're really on top of the social media, and I love the fact that you're so involved with everything. And the announcements with the cast, the teaser posters, everything was just juicing you up for a bit more, and it was like, I'm in, I'm going to keep an eye on this.
And the poster's awesome, by the way, as well.
Awesome.
On Black Site?
Yeah,
it looks good, man. Like you guys are gonna love it. If you like Pandorica and Redwood, you're gonna love Black Site. Like I say, if you're a fan of Die Hard, The Raid, I don't know anyone who isn't a fan of Die Hard. Any of those sorts of narratives, plenty of action. You're gonna love Black Site. Absolutely love it.
So the last thing we like to do when we have a guest on the Indie Talk episodes is we like to have a 365 pick. Would you like to explain what this is?
Sure, yeah. We have a list on our website, Craig. It is 365 movies that our guests think that people should watch before they die. So we like to ask our guests to pick one film that you think everybody should watch.
Everybody should watch before they die.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily have to be the best movie in the world. It can be like a personal favourite, just something that you think goes on a list of 365 movies that should be watched before you.
Do you know what? I haven't seen the list. There is a film. It's actually Luke Da Silva, who plays Nuss, and he's the vampire in Redwood. Mm-hmm. He was in a British film that before I knew Luke, before I met him, I was a massive fan of this particular British film. And the first time I watched it, again, it was one of those films I watched when I was a bit younger. I thought, I want to make films one day. And it's a British film, and it's called Still Crazy.
Nice.
Luke's in it. He plays the Spanish bartender in it, and I remember halfway through, because I'd met Luke a few times before on some music videos and stuff, working with Tom. It was about halfway through Pandorica. I was talking about Still Crazy, and Luke went, "I was in that." I was like, "No, awesome. What?" And he went, "Yeah, I'm in Still Crazy." When? And he said, "The Spanish bartender," and I'm looking at him thinking, well, it's about 20 years before, but I'm like, "Shit, that is you as well." I was like, oh, amazing. But that's, do you know what? Still Crazy is probably one of my favourite films ever made. It's incredible, man. It gets me every time. It's one of those films that I never get bored watching. You know, I'm a big Marvel fan. I'm a big I've got Star Wars tattoos. You know, I named my son Lucas. I'm a big Star Wars fan. But for the films that people should watch before they die, Still Crazy is probably one of the ones that they're not going to find unless somebody points them in the direction. Yeah. But it's an incredible film. Still Crazy.
What I will say, full disclosure, if you had to check the list, it's not been updated for about a month. But yeah, that'll go straight on. I'm going to sort that out. Still Crazy, definitely. I have seen that one, so yeah, I fully agree with that one.
Craig, this has been fucking awesome, my man. This has been really good crack.
Oh, thanks, boys.
Thank you very, very much for taking the time to have a chat with us tonight.
Yeah, man.
No, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. Like I say, you know, I don't always get an opportunity to do the sort of the public interviews and things like that. And yeah, no, it's been a real pleasure. Talking to you guys.
I'm really not bullshitting you or trying to stroke your ego or anything. But when we met you at Sci-Fi Weekend, we went back to the caravan and I was like, that's who we need to be talking to. Tom's great, Mike's great, but Craig's got some stories. And I was like, that's where we need to be.
I didn't say anything. I was still just grinning.
Yeah, you were just looking at the moon. Cool.
Yeah.
just like, did I tell you I met Nicholas Brennan? Yeah, you told me.
I wish I could remember what I said to him, you know.
But yeah. I'm sorry it's taken so long to get it all sorted. We've been.
No, mate, it's not a problem at all.
We've been slammed, and from what I can tell, you guys have been busy as hell as well. So it's good to finally get it done and sit down and talk to you, man. Yeah,
no, boys, it's been an absolute pleasure, and like I say, you know, I look forward to updating you with all of the Black Site stuff once it's all done and dusted.
Definitely,
we're looking forward to coming down at some point in August.
Yeah, and make sure.
I will. Yeah, I'll see you on set. Yeah. Let us know when you're coming down, and I'll make sure that the limo picks you up at the train station, and yeah.
Honestly, we don't need limos. Chicken nuggets sound fine to me.
Chicken nuggets, yeah.
Chicken nuggets, a happy meal each.
So it's
definitely, man. So we're gonna let you go, man. This has been fantastic, and this has actually probably been one of my favourites.
Oh yeah.
So cheers, boys. Cool. Cheers. I really appreciate that.
When this episode's gonna drop, it'll be next Friday, but I'll let you know anyway. I'll give you a message and I'll let you know it's coming out.
Amazing. Thanks a lot, boys.
Awesome, man. Thank you
cheers,
very much.
Take care. I'll see you soon.
See you. Yeah, man. Cracking interview again, Craig. We can't thank you enough. I was speaking to him the other night because I've been trying to get the episode out. I've been trying to get it edited, but I've had a hell of a week. My eldest daughter, I know you don't want to hear this shit, but my eldest daughter is just finished first school. She's 9-year-old. She's been on the podcast a few times. She does good promos. She does really good promo for Hobie. If you go and listen to History of Bad Ideas, you'll hear that every now and then. They love that promo. The girls done a fantastic job. But yeah, she's just leaving. We've had a hell of a hectic week. So this episode is coming out a day late. Hopefully, if I can get this edited tonight. But yeah, it's coming out a day late, and I've been speaking to Craig about it, trying to just let him know it's coming. It's going to drop. It's going to drop. It's going to drop. I'm getting there. I have edited the whole thing now. I just need to put this little cheeky bit in. I cannot thank you enough, man. Great interview, and we so look forward to what's happening with these guys. George Burt, Tom Payton, and Craig Hind, like the three guys. The British movie scene is never going to be the same again, and I keep saying during these indie talks that there's a buzz on the independent Brit movie scene. Like there's something happening, there's something going on, and as outsiders, Chris and I, as outsiders looking in and doing these interviews, you can feel that there's just something there. It's like magic going on, and Tom and George and Craig are just, they're right there. They're right on the bubble. I guarantee you. You know, if you don't know who these guys are now, I guarantee you're going to hear about them in the next couple of years. You're going to hear about them in the next couple of months, for fuck's sake. They're about to go into production on their next movie, Black Site, which we cannot wait to see. We've had some like cast announcements. You hear about it all in the interview, but Tom has graciously invited us to go down and spend a day on the set, which is fantastic. You know, we'll hopefully get some really good stuff for you there, and for your listeners out there, just hopefully we'll get some good stuff. We're looking forward to it. We've been promised chicken nuggets, so that's all gravy. I love me some chicken nuggets. And you know what, man, we're going from strength to strength with this. These are the guys that are exciting us right now. You know, they're really exciting times for the independent scene. And I keep saying independent. I wish it wasn't that case. These guys should be already in the forefront. They should already be making the blockbuster movies. They should already be there right now, because the talent is fucking real, people. The talent is fucking real. And speaking of these guys, speaking of Craig, speaking of Tom, speaking of Mike in the back, speaking of Lance on the Pegasus episode, Dave on the House of the Screaming Death, and the Sustain episode. We've just interviewed so many cool, awesome people who are making a way for themselves. They're paving a way, and they're showing us, they're showing Chris and I that, you know what, man, like, if you've got an idea and if you're creative enough, just fucking do it. Just go out there and do it. I mean, Chris got inspired, and he's all about writing a screenplay right now. Probably the other reason he's not here, because he's too busy, you know, being all Stephen King and shit. But he's writing a screenplay, and I've read it. Dude's written a good little story there. And if we can do something with that, that'd be awesome. It's just showing us, man, you can do it. We don't have to talk about doing it. We can go out and do it. So yeah, there's going to be more indie talk to come, definitely. We've got a few more lined up. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere. The regular schmegular episodes are always going to be there, because that's what we love doing. That's our passion. We love getting in there. And you know what? If Craig wants to come on, we've got Craig coming on. And if anybody else wants to jump on board, you are all more than welcome to jump on board. Top 5s, reviews, just the pilot, all those good ass sections. We've got lots of sections, and we've got loads more coming up. Just keep this train moving, man, because podcasting's awesome. I don't get a chance to say it enough that I love this shit. I love speaking to you guys. I love people listening. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much. And we will keep it coming. And next episode, Chris will be back for the intros as well. Hopefully. I just didn't want to bother him tonight, and we got this done, and this has all been good, and I'm going to have to edit this like a motherfucker. So you're a Marvel fan. You like a bit of DC. We're going to be recording our episode that comes out tomorrow after we get done with this call. We're going to be reviewing Spiderman Homecoming. I know you've seen it because I asked you. What are your thoughts on Spider-Man Homecoming? Did you enjoy it?
I love it.
Good, man.
Absolutely incredible from start to finish. I love the fact that we didn't. It was so clever. Like, Spider-Man was delivered in such an original way without completely destroying what Spider-Man is. I love the fact that we got a Spider-Man Origins film without any of the cliched stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm a big fan of all the Spider-Man films, even the Amazing Spider-Man 2. I thought had good elements to it. What you always get in those first Tobey Maguire and the first Amazing Spider-Man was that you get this very strange story arc that almost goes too quickly. That at the beginning of the film, he's not even Spider-Man. You have the spider bite, and then very quickly you sort of get to the end, and he's an expert at being Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You know, Spider-Man Homecoming, he didn't crash through Peter Parker's life really quickly, and you got the sense of this vulnerable teenager, this sort of kid who's trying to do the right things. I don't know if we're supposed to be doing spoilers here. You guys can always cut this out. But you asked, and I'm going to do it.
It'll be fun.
One of the great things about the whole story is that they avoided the cliches, but gave you all the same narrative. They gave you the same elements. You know, I remember Tom's. We went to see it on the first day it was out, and one of the things that Tom said afterwards was like, when you watch the whole film, you get that, the key tagline from Spider-Man is, with great power comes great responsibility. And they didn't say it once in the entire film, but it's the whole thing. What he learns at the end is, with great power comes great responsibility. That's the entire story arc of that film. So they gave you that without actually ever having to say it. Me personally, like I say, I thought that the school felt realistic. Like that whole social environment as a teenager for him felt realistic. The way that they've done Flash Thompson is perfect. That he's not this ridiculous big guy that just likes to beat people up for no reason. That he's an actual realistic and a believable bully. That he's a bit of a knob because he's a rich kid and he's a bit arrogant. And like, we all know bullies like that. It's the sort of the big jock style bullies that actually are a bit rare. You don't really see them except for in these sort of fantasy realms. I just loved it, mate. I loved it from start to finish. Karen, the introduction of Karen as a character was incredible. Yeah. I loved it. Absolutely loved Spider-Man Homecoming.
So you're saying 3 out of 10 then?
Mate, I've already been onto IMDb. I've already 10 out of 10'd it.
Nice.
So yeah, man. Yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming. Like, if you're not there watching it in the cinema, then you're just not a Marvel fan, are you?
We didn't watch it in IMAX.
Yes, awesome. What did you boys think?
Loved it.
Yeah, Chris loved it.
I'm a massive Spider-Man fan. I have been since I was a kid. So I was ready for another. We hadn't seen a proper, fantastic, badass Spider-Man movie since really Spider-Man 2.
Yeah,
I've stood up for Amazing Spider-Man 2 as well. By the way, Craig, I think it's underrated, especially the bits with Jamie Foxx. I thought he looked sinister as hell. The bit where him and Spidey are fighting through the electric pile-on things, that's awesome. But I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
and what you were saying about him not being, the Amazing Spider-Man yet, that he's just learning, and you get an origin story without it actually being an origin story, where he fucks up. The bit on the ferry where he thinks he saved everyone and he saved the day, and then the webs start going, and he's like, fuck, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
It's great. Absolutely fantastic.
I mean, I think I had a theory that because I think the Amazing Spider-Man films are a little bit underrated, and I think there is an element in the sort of fandom of Marvel that they're not good films. I actually quite like the first one. The second one has some really, really good parts to it. There was just some story things that perhaps didn't quite work, that well. But it's not by any stretch a bad film. But because there is such an element of the two Amazing Spider-Man films aren't good, that actually inside that story of Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man fucks up twice, and twice Tony Stark has to step in and save him. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that's a deliberate in-joke.
Yeah, I'm sure I watched a video on YouTube, not about that theory, but sort of, they said there's a couple of things that happen in the movie that, if you really think about it, they're kind of taking the piss out of what's gone before.
Yeah.
One of them being that the web fluid, it's a web fluid 3.0.
Yeah.
So that's it. It's like saying third time rebooted kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you're probably right.
I also think that because I had a similar theory with Civil War, when Spider-Man first turns up in Civil War, and you get the scene with essentially that whole scene in the bedroom is Tony Stark being the start of the whole MCU. Robert Downey Jr. kicked this whole thing off with that first Iron Man and has become the Godfather. Tony Stark is the Godfather inside that MCU now, and it's almost like everything structured around him. It all goes through Tony Stark, or he influences the stories. And having Tony Stark come in and sit down on the bed next to Peter Parker, when you watch that whole scene, it is a metaphor for Marvel saying to Sony, like, we're taking over, I'm in charge. Like, I'm in charge now, and you work for me. Like, you can see it. I'm not saying that it's done, that's what they have done. I'm saying, but it's a very strange coincidence, because the whole thing is a metaphor for that.
I like that, but are they really in charge? Because Pascal Pictures comes before Marvel Studios. which I was giggling like a bastard.
I looked round at Kev when Pascal Pictures came up on the screen. I looked round at Kev and said, "Did you fucking see that?"
and as we were walking out, I says, "Yeah, but before Marvel Studios, think about that one."
Yeah, like, I mean, obviously those two idents come up first, and then the Marvel ident. I mean, the Marvel ident is the one that takes you into the film, as it should do. I actually went to see it in the IMAX, in IMAX 3D, and they'd even. I don't know if you guys have ever been to the IMAX in any of the Cineworlds, but you always have this sort of this 10, 9, 8, so a countdown in this 3D animation. You've all seen it. When I went to see it in the IMAX, they've actually redone that whole thing. It's all Spider-Man themed now, like that whole countdown on the IMAX. And it was. Do you know what? Everything about it, I could talk about it for hours. I absolutely love that film. I've been seeing it twice now, and I'll probably take my son and go a third time as well before it's finished its run in the cinema. It's just, I absolutely loved it, and I cannot wait for Thor Ragnarok. Like, I'm absolutely buzzing, and can't wait. And then Infinity War's next year, boys. Honestly, again, not talking about it earlier. There's no more exciting time to be in film or to be a fan of film.
So, do you think? Do you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Do you think that we're ever going to see any of those guys back in the MCU or in the MCU?
If Agent Coulson isn't in Infinity Wars, I'm going to be slightly disappointed.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Because they set it up, they did set it up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because there's an episode in the first season where Lady Sif is involved in the storyline, and there is a line where Agent Coulson deliberately tells her not to tell Thor that he's still alive because he wants to tell him himself. And when they started setting all that stuff up, I kind of thought, I'm still waiting for it, and I'm waiting for Agent Coulson to be back in, with all those characters that his character arc grew with the Avengers. And, it's kind of stepped away from that a little bit. I am a big fan of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I do want to see Coulson inside that, inside the film universe again.
At some point that has to happen.
Even like your Agent May, I would love to see her interacting with, some of the Avengers. Because she's funny as hell at times, but she's also a badass.
Mate, I mean, I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, the most recent series, obviously the Ghost Rider series, has just been absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely buzzing. Yeah, well, I'm a big fan of the Ghost Rider as a character in the comic books as well. The Nicolas Cage films are okay, but I am a big fan of the Ghost Rider as a character in the comic books, and I think it's been done so well in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Again, another character that I wouldn't mind seeing coming into the MCU, perhaps not until after Infinity Wars. Like me personally, I would kind of like to see, once the Infinity Wars storyline draws to a close, with the introduction of Doctor Strange, they're talking about Blade coming into the MCU now as well, that actually they're starting to go down, rather than the big alien invasion storyline, is for them to go for more of a the vampires occult and storyline, which again, you could bring the Ghost Rider in for that. Blade is a good character to bring in for that. And see him go down that route. I would love to see that. So bringing what they've just started in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and bringing that into the MCU would be incredible. But if Agent Coulson needs to be in Infinity Wars,
definitely. So we're doing a Marvel podcast sometime.
I already kind of said we'll book you in for that Marvel podcast. We'll definitely get you on for that. We'll have to do that another time.
Yeah, but, definitely. I mean, again, and I'm like everybody else. I want to see Disney do the deal with Fox. And bring. I know Hugh Jackman said he was done with Wolverine. He did say that if there was an opportunity for Wolverine to be in the MCU, then he would do it. And again, seeing that Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in the MCU before he's completely done with it would be incredible. And I'm just talking as a fanboy now. This is all the cool shit that I want to see in the MCU. I want to see Wolverine and Hulk together on screen, because they appear so many times together in the comic books. And I would love to see that on screen.
Spider-Man and Deadpool.
Spider-Man and Deadpool, that's the one, isn't it? Like, how, again, for Fox to do that deal, and you can't ever really bring Deadpool over into the Infinity War storyline or any of that stuff, but having the Spider-Man Deadpool crossover would be, that'd be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing.
It would be, but I can't have a problem with that, with the fact that he constantly breaks the fourth
That's
wall.
The thing. Well,
how would Deadpool ever enter that realm?
If it was a Spider-Man movie on its own, then maybe you could get away with it.
What, and he's going to reference Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield.
Well,
why not? Again, like we just talked about it with Homecoming and Civil War. I think they already do in a very, very, very buried, subtle way.
Mm-hmm.
I think they do reference those other films. But you could do a Deadpool film that's bleeding into the Spider-Man universe, and so rather than a Spider-Man film with Deadpool crossing over into it, you do a Deadpool film where Spider-Man's crossing over into it. It's easily done. It is easily done.
Yeah.
And again, they do it in the comic books, and it should work on screen, and everybody would love it. Everybody would love it. I know I would.
That Deadpool movie made a fucking shit ton of money, didn't it?
Rightly so. It's a great
definitely.
film, man. It's incredible from start to finish. It's absolutely hilarious. And Ryan Reynolds was just born to play that character.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's a little bit like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I can't see anybody else being fit for the role. Obviously, there will be somebody else, but I can't. At the moment, I just can't envisage. And it's the same with Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. I can't imagine. There isn't anybody else that can do it as well as he does it.
Deadpool was one of the movies over the last few years, like superhero movies, that I've literally sat there, like from the opening to the end with just a massive cheesy grin on my face. I just enjoyed that movie so much, purely because, like you say, Ryan Reynolds just owns it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does, and everything he was doing on social media in the run up to the release of Deadpool, where it just completely blurred the lines, and exactly what Deadpool does by breaking the fourth wall. Ryan Reynolds completely blurred the lines between Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool, and it was almost that they are the same person. That Ryan Reynolds plays himself, or does Deadpool play Ryan Reynolds? And he just nailed it. And given the fact that Deadpool is a character that constantly references himself, breaks the fourth wall, and is a self-aware fictional character, that was the perfect way to promote it, and Ryan Reynolds just nailed it. It's just incredible.
Months on end before the movie came out on the podcast, social media wise, forget about it. They were just doing the right thing. It was great. Everything they brought out, I loved. I was just like, this is fantastic.
So speaking of Deadpool, actually, what did you make of the Deadpool level of trolling at the post-credits scenes at the end of Homecoming? That was fucking awesome.
It was good, man. Like it was good. Yeah, no, it was good. I liked it. Again, because you're starting to see these big extended universes, and do you know what? I mean, the guys have got to pull their fingers out. There's no reason for these Hollywood studios to be in competition with each other. Same thing I said earlier in the podcast. That competition doesn't really exist anymore. You know, you've got Fox, Sony, you've got Warner Brothers, you've got Disney, Marvel, and they all seem to, like, Warner Brothers and DC seem to think that they're in some sort of competition with the MCU, you know, and it's not. It doesn't exist. There is room for all of you. You haven't got to rush it. You haven't got to be judging yourself on what other people are doing. And Fox, again, the same. You know, you don't need. You can all work together. All of these characters should be supporting each other exactly in the way that you've just said. Do you know what I mean? Like Deadpool trolling. You know, these MCU films that are coming out, like all of these studios, there should be this cross-pollination going on where they're all supporting each other.
Did you see the congratulations that Ryan Reynolds sent to Wonder Woman? What was that? Some
I didn't see that. Oh, I saw the Deadpool heart.
Yes,
that he made with the hands over the Wonder Woman necklace.
It was her BO's worser, something like that. Something like that. Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds' Twitter feed is just entertainment in itself. Like if you follow Ryan Reynolds on Twitter, it's just hilarious. Like all the stuff he posts about his daughter, like, and being a parent, like he's being a parent tweets are hilarious.
Right. So I think that's it.
Yeah.
That's it for the Marvel podcast.
That's a little prequel of a Marvel podcast there.
I'll see what I can do with that, and we might just put a little teaser for an episode later on when you're free again.
Yeah, mate. No, yeah, well up for doing a Marvel one, definitely.